You. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about hope, and it was encouraging to sing some of these songs this morning, so I'm thankful to Emily for choosing them and for the Holy Spirit speaking through her and speaking through these songs to be reminded that we don't need to be afraid in the midst of darkness and uncertainty, because that comes a lot in our lives. We experience it. We walk with people that experience it. It's one of those guarantees in life. They say, what, death and taxes are the guarantee? Also darkness. It's one of those things. And so this passage I want to share is in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. And it says that we fix our eyes not on the things that are seen, but on the things that are unseen. Since the things that are seen are temporary, but the things that are unseen are eternal. So as the summer of 2023 began to approach, my family set our eyes on vacation time. Last summer kind of sucked for us. Jen was going through cancer treatment. She had her cancer from her jaw removed. And some of you can identify with that and the difficulties that come with facing that, or a loved one that faces that. But it was a long, hard year for us, and we're so thankful and appreciative of the support of community, both the faith community, specifically you as the Village Church, but then our broader faith community of other Christians and churches that we are connected with, and then just the community at large, the support that came through that. But we booked a solid time away to be together, and so that's why the last 3 Sundays we've been MIA, and we booked kind of this marathon run of stuff where we were going to go to Jen's family cottage for a week, which actually started with 2 days with her sister and brother-in-law and their family, because we hadn't seen them for a little bit. So we did 2 days there in Southampton, and then further up the Bruce Peninsula for the family cottage for a week. And then we were going to break for a couple days and stop at a bed and breakfast that was in the Grey Highlands area. So we went back down to Owen Sound, and that was Jen's birthday on the 16th of July. And so we booked a special little time away with a nice little place, and us and the kids were there. We enjoyed that time. The hosts were Bob and Deb, which is the same name of Jen's parents. And so I was like, let's book that, and we'll meet another Bob and Deb. And they were super lovely, and we had a great time. We did some city stuff. We took Jen to see a movie. She loves Mission Impossible, so we went to go see Tom Cruise run in Mission Impossible, because Jen loves to note every time Tom Cruise runs in a movie. And then from there, it was going up to Manitoulin Island. We booked the Chi-Chi-Mon to go across to Manitoulin Island and drive about 2 hours from South Baymouth, where the Chi-Chi-Mon comes in, out to a random lonely spot on the northwest corner of the island where a good friend of mine has some property. And so we booked that time away because we were just really amped up that we hadn't gotten away the previous year. It had been like full and kind of stress-filled. And then from camping, we were going to go back to Jen's family cottage where her whole family would be there. So that's 5 different families with all of their kids. So it was a lot of stuff. And this was some logistics that we were trying to work out, and we got all this stuff booked. And we had cautioned ourselves on this, and maybe I just wasn't listening as well to my wife as what I should have. I think we can all maybe relate to that on some level. But she said we have to be careful not to put too much stock or too much emphasis in this vacation. Our expectations are going to be high. So I don't know if you've ever anticipated something, looked forward to something, and then the expectations maybe don't match the reality. And so what ends up happening there, Isaac? If your expectations don't match what actually happens, you feel disappointed, right? And so there's a sense of disappointment that can easily come And I think we've talked about this before, but I remember reading like scientific studies that talk about how the most beneficial part of vacation comes in the preparation and anticipation of the vacation. So it's all the endorphin release that comes in, oh, I can't wait to do what it is we're going to do, or the thing that you're looking forward to or looking ahead to. And then you do it and you're like, oh, okay. And you come back, often more tired than when you left, and you need a vacation from your vacation, some people say, right? And so we had some of that in our minds. So we want to try to temper our expectations. So most of that trip went really well. We had a couple instances, probably because we have a teenager, where like emotions ran high when we were at the cottage and we were deciding things we wanted to do, and so there was a little bit of maybe more into, you seem shocked, Olivia, that I said that. I don't think you should be shocked. We were all tired too, right, from, just staying up later and stuff, but it was mostly good. We went, did all the stuff, celebrated Jen's birthday, it was awesome. Went to camp, and it so happened that my friend actually was like, I'm going to come up and bring 3 of my kids as well. And so that was great because we got to reconnect with him, and I got to spend some time with him. The kids got to hang out together. They developed this affinity for fishing whenever we go there. So Olivia caught her first fish. We didn't cook it because it was just a little too small, but a smallmouth bass, and she was like, I'm going to stay in the water until I catch this fish. So that's her tenacity, and she stayed out there like day after day, and then eventually brought this fish in. Beautiful sunsets, wonderful time on this shale rock beach, nice flat bedrock to walk into the water, pristine, clear, just so lovely. Well, as the week went on, even as we left, some people are like, Jen, camping? Like, that maybe that's not her biggest, most exciting thing she wants to do, okay? Now, we were going to go last year, and we're like, maybe we'll just leave Mom at home. She's recovering from her surgery, not going to be able to camp. Should we go? And so we like hummed and hawed and like said we would, and then we didn't, and said we would. Eventually, we just decided not to go. So we were all missing it. Olivia loves it. Isaac loves it. I love it. Jen loves us. Okay? So we, this is backcountry camping at its finest, okay? Because Jen came, we have a pail with a toilet seat lid on it, so you can sit on the pail. No flush, no nothing like that. I bury everything, or we just dig a hole. No running water. The fresh water is the lake. So that's what we do. We cart the stuff in, and there's about 200 meters of a ridge that we have to climb down. So with all that stuff, I think we discovered that probably after the surgeries and stuff, backcountry camping is a little bit out of my wife's wheelhouse from now on. And so we have to adapt. And so I think it maybe was Jack that said, well, I guess you'll have to make some changes and maybe get a trailer or a camper or something. I'm like, that's not camping. And so the reference was made to me, well, the change maybe you need to make is that just Jen doesn't go. And I said, that's probably the change that I'll make. But we'll figure it out as we go. Anyways, Thursday night it rained. We were going to stay till Friday. Thursday night it rained quite a bit, but our tents were amazing. We stayed relatively dry. I was completely dry. Isaac, you moved a night, and so you stayed in the crappier tent, and so he did get a little bit wet. But you guys, Olivia and Jen, stayed relatively dry. And so I made the decision because my wife's like, I'm not going to make the decision for us to leave early. I don't want to carry that burden. And so I made the call to say, let's leave a day early so everyone stays happy. And so we waited for a break. It was supposed to rain all day that Thursday. We waited for a break in the weather, put the stuff out to dry, packed everything up, took a little bit of time, carted everything up to the van. We had our dog with us the entire time. First time that happened too. She did it wonderfully. She probably survived camping better than any one of us. So we said, we're going to leave a day early. So my friend says, here's how you get out of the bush. Because everything looks the same. And so when you're going in and coming out, like you don't know up from down, left from right. This is a spider web of logging roads, okay? If you stay on the correct path, then you're okay. It's hard bedrock. It goes in tight, and so you got some trees brushing up against your van and stuff, but you're not going to get stuck or anything like that. There's a few times where you like scrape something on the bottom of your van because there's some boulders and stuff in the road, so you got to weave, bob and weave and stuff. So he said, here's how you get out. And I'm pretty sure, like, he definitely needs to improve his map making directions and stuff. And so he said something about staying left. But I think he was thinking about when you come in, you stay left. So when you're leaving, you stay to the right of this one clearing. So we weren't far off. But we ended up staying left, my wife navigating and me driving with our kids in the back. You can imagine how this would go. Particularly if you're like, I don't know, if you're like me, you want everything to go just well, right? And it's easy to put blame on the navigator and say, you didn't send me in the right direction. So there was a little bit of that conversation happening. And Olivia panicking in the back, where are we at? Where are we? We don't know where we're going. And a lot of shh. And as we're traversing the ground, it's getting worse and worse. We're like, we're not going the right direction. And it became abundantly clear when we had gotten down to the bottom of this ridge, had met an impassable area. And so I did an 18-point turn on this tiny logging road to get back. And once we hit the ridge to go back up, I'm looking at it. I'm seeing the boulders in the road. I'm like, we're not getting up here. We're stuck. We're stuck. And I may have said some other words that I won't say here. We're stuck. And so I said, Jen, you get in. I'm gonna, because like we literally, like we weren't moving. And so I don't know if we were hung up. I thought maybe the tires were spinning. I was afraid that the tires weren't spinning and we like busted an axle or something. So Jen gets in the driver's seat and I'm trying to like rock it. We're gonna get it back going. It's not moving. So I'm like, that's it. We're done. We're here. This is where we live now. And that's the frustration that I was feeling. Okay? And tears are shed, words are being uttered and yelled, and Olivia's like, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know. So we go to get cell phone reception. There's no reception where we are. And so that's why the words of this song, I'm Not Afraid of the Dark. We were in a dark canopy. It was very, straight in the woods. I didn't crap my pants, but I did in the woods. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So that relieved some pressure there. And then Isaac and I hiked up the ridge, about 200 meters or so, where we got cell phone service, trying to call my friend, just to kind of get a sense of where we might be. Service is spotty, so I can't get him. We're humming and hawing, we're praying, we're trying to, I'm like, I guess we just gotta call the police. I don't know what else to do. And so we call the police. And we say, I'm lost in the woods, we were backcountry camping. Now my van is stuck. I have 2 children with me and my wife who can't traverse anything other than flat ground. And they said, okay, we'll pinpoint your location. How much battery power do you have left on your phone? How much water do you have? Like, we're at the end of our supplies because we were leaving. And so she's like, okay, someone will be in touch with you. So we wait about an hour and a bit. The flies and mosquitoes got bad. We grabbed a couple chairs from the car, pulled them up to the top of the ridge, laid them out, and sat and waited. After about an hour and a half, the police called back. They said, we're on our way to come get you. Hang up the phone, another 45 minutes. They call back again. They're like, okay, I'm gonna put on my siren. I want you to listen to see if you can hear it from where you are, not through the phone. So they do that. Kids, can you hear it? No. Okay, we must be too far away still. I told them where, because they're like, what road do you want? I'm like, well, these are all logging roads. There are no names. They're just paths. And so I told them where we got off the main road to then drive through this cow field to hit these logging roads that were then driving over other people's properties to get to this property. So after about another hour and a bit, the 2 police SUVs come down the road And 4 police officers, 2 in each vehicle, come out. Are you okay? Yep. The sergeant, who was in charge of this group, didn't seem none too pleased that he had to come back to get us. And this was his statement. What are you doing out here? He said, we're camping. So my friend's got some property, and that's what he kept asking, do you have permission to be back here? Well, if I didn't have permission, I wouldn't be calling you. So he said, okay, and that's just what he continued to say as we got in the vehicles. He's like, we're going to take you to Gore Bay. Well, now we're going to take you to Mindamoye, because there's a motel there. The one guy was helpful. He kept bringing up different motels and hotels and inns. We're calling, everybody's full, everybody's full. He's like, you're going to have to stay for the night, and then here's a couple towing companies that can, and Olivia's like, can't they just get like a helicopter and like pull us out? And I'm like, yes, that would be ideal if they would just strap us in and lift us out of the bush. We're like, here's a couple of towing companies you can call, and that's the most we can do. So as they're driving, they're finishing their shift. They're like, we're going to pass you on to 2 other police officers because we were going to want to go home. It's 7 o'clock now, and so see you later, have a good night. And they pass us off to 2 other officers who were much nicer and kinder, probably because they didn't have to drive out to the bush an hour and so away. And so they said, let's get you some dinner. So they took us to a diner for us to grab dinner. They watched our dog while we ate. We got to eat in the back of police cruisers, which we never thought we'd be doing that on vacation. And they took us to the Mindamoye Motel, where we could then figure stuff out. That guy was super awesome and generous, gave us a great space. Brought us food, took our family to the grocery store down the road so that they could get some supplies for breakfast, whatever, as I continued to make calls. Eventually got a hold of a towing company. The guy's name was Dan, and he was like, yeah, we'll get you out, no problem. We got a ferry to catch at 2 p.m. Today. Yeah, I don't know, but we'll get you out, So because it was under 24 hours, we missed our ferry. No reimbursements there, had to book the next ferry, but eventually I go to the guy's towing company because it's just a few minutes down the road from where the motel is. And I said, is Dan here? Dan, he's not going to be here till like 10, maybe 11. We're like, oh, okay. Now, as I got to know this guy a little bit, he talked about the importance of working 12-hour days. He just doesn't start at 9 o'clock. So if he had been there at 9 o'clock, everything probably would have been fine. But he shows up about 11:30-ish in a blue Ford F-250, and he's like, are you the guy that's got his vehicle stuck in the bush? Yep, hop in. And I'm like, all right. So I waved goodbye to my family, who's all sitting on a picnic table, like, Jen's like, is he going to come back? I have no idea. And we start the 1.5-hour trek out to the bush. And so as we're driving, I'm like, is this, like, you didn't want to bring your tow truck? I'm not taking my tow truck back there. It's too narrow. It's a $180,000 truck. I just got it wrapped for 10 grand. I don't want to scratch it and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, do you think this van, or do you think your truck will do it? I hope so. Okay. So it wasn't instilling a lot of confidence. He seemed to oscillate back and forth between, I did say, Dan, I appreciate your levity and your humor in this. He's like, I'm sensing sarcasm. And I said, no sarcasm, because I can't laugh about this right now. Right now I feel like my van's just going to end up living there in the bush, and I don't know how we're going to call Jen's family to come pick us up. So we get out there. We get back to where the police had marked some police tape for us to easily find it. And then this is what Dan said. What are you doing out here? And I said, I'm getting that question asked a lot of me. We were camping. And so we followed the police tape. He said, it's a spider web of roads back here. I don't know how you even find your way. And so, and then he asked, where did your friend find this property? All this kinds of stuff, right? End of the day, we get to the spot where he can turn around. He said, this is probably where you're going to want to turn around. It's about maybe 500 meters from here. Because I said, maybe you want to walk down, take a look at the situation. He's like, how far is it? About 500 meters. No, I'm going to drive it. I'm not going to walk. So we get in, and he just backs it in all the way down this ridge, pulls out the tow rope and the hooks and stuff, and he's getting all that set up, and I'm helping him. And he's like, boy, if this doesn't work, I don't know what you're going to do. His idea was to call a guy named Cody, who had a skid steer. He's like, let me give Cody a call. And then he, wait a little bit. Cody doesn't have a skid steer anymore. Oh, okay, of course. Thanks, Cody. So he hooks it up. He's like, get in. I'm like, I'm just gonna, drive around the boulders and stuff, follow you up. Yep, okay, get in. He pulled me out, no problem. Okay, there was a couple crunchy sounds that I didn't want to hear. Got up to the top, and he's like, okay, we'll see you on the outside. And that's it. We drove out of the bush. He gave it a once over. He said, meet me at my shop. Does this amount sound fair? He said, that sounds more than fair for the time that he drove, 3 hours, in total. Met him at the shop, gave him what he wanted, and our car was running loud. So I'm like, okay, the exhaust clearly, I'm glad the axe is not broken. We're driving, we're on the road. It's just giving me a headache to drive. And so we get to the ferry, book the ferry, pay another amount because they won't just bump us. Take the sunset cruise back to the mainland in Tobermory, which was lovely, and took some downtime there. And then Jen was like, we're spending 3 more days with my whole family at the cottage. Do you want to do that? And I was like, no, but we'll see. And the kids want to see their cousins, so we did that. But by this point, we're tired. I'm really tired. Glad that the stuff is being taken care of, but the stress was high. There was this big pool float thing, like a lake floaty, that we got for the cottage, and so we blew that up for the kids to play on. So we took it out to the bay, and they were playing there on Saturday. Beside Jen's cottage, there's a gentleman, and he has been historically not a great neighbor, very difficult, and Jen's family, all of us have tried to be very gracious and accommodating of him. But this guy thinks he owns the island, like Parker Island, where the family cottage is, thinks he owns the water, thinks he owns the road, can decide how everybody's going to use their property. So when the kids are out playing, he comes in with his CD, and immediately we know something's going to go down. Because he wants to go right where the kids are playing. So he's like, get that thing out of the way. And I was out on the yard, I said, don't worry, Ruben, you'll figure it out, right? And he was yelling and getting all whatever, and he got around them fine. But then wanted to come over and have words with Jen's dad about how that shouldn't be there so he can get by and blah, 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 blah. Well, I wanted to save Jen's dad and family from that heartache. So I took it upon myself and intervened. Wasn't in a good headspace, as you can maybe imagine. So I tried to be rational with this neighbor. That didn't last very long. We both lost our stuff, said things that were not kind of one another. And he said, you're not being very neighborly. And I said, you're one of the least neighborly people I've ever met in my life, right? Like, just let us be. It's not going to be there forever. We'll get it out, right? Then he went back out, and I'm like, he's going to talk with the kids. And the kids were not like, they were a little like, whoa, is this guy going to yell at us? Because he kind of yelled at him a bit coming in. So he went back out again, and so I charged out into the bay, and I'm just walking out there, and that's when Jen wanted to pull me back. And it's been a long time since I had a situation where I called somebody on. But he wanted to fight me. And I said, come on, let's go then. Bring it here. That wasn't right. So, in Jeremiah 29, that's the vacation story. In Jeremiah 29, verse 11, it says, God says, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Now, we often hear these words and we think that the hope and the future will be something that others would see and go, ooh, that's nice. I like that. But that is something that maybe we can't describe or understand. We can't describe or understand the hope, the thing that it is that God is going to work out, the plans that he has. It's not just necessarily, ooh, that's nice. We go through times of hardship. We go through times of discouragement, brokenness, and anxiety, and we think Is this the plan that God has? Is this how he wants things to go down? Well, no, I don't think that is God's plan. But God works like a phoenix, rising from the ashes. You know, the mythical bird? And actually, when we were camping, there was a cloud. You guys remember the cloud? Where we looked at that, and Pastor Chris was like, that looks like a phoenix. Or was it Aiden, his son? That looks like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And it just looked like this beautiful cloud, like this giant bird. And that's how God works. He works in situations to bring about what is good for you. And sometimes it comes from ashes. It comes from difficulty. It comes from hardship. In Psalm 147, verse 11, it says, "The Lord delights in those who fear him, who put their hope in his unfailing love." And this is what I started to think about as we came to the end of our vacation, that I had been putting too much hope, too much trust in the circumstances. Too much of that in the vacation time as the thing that was going to give us what it was we were searching for over the last year, that rest, that peace. And we did have moments of that, obviously, and we've shared that repeatedly with individuals. But we were so anticipating this time away, forgetting me, I will speak about me, forgetting that my hope and my rest are in Christ. Not in vacation time, not in circumstances. And Jesus is with me wherever I am. Whether I'm tired or busy, whether I'm relaxing, if I'm harried, if I'm frustrated, I just need others to remind me of that. And I need to remind myself of that truth, and I need to remind others. And I hope my encouragement is that we can all remember that. We need to be reminding each other that Jesus is our hope. The anticipation and expectation of what will be good. In Romans 15, verse 13, it says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." So it's as we're trusting and looking to Jesus in the midst of whatever's going on, that God will fill with hope and joy and peace, and that is through the power of the Holy Spirit. I often come back to this term or quote where someone said, it's an anonymous quote, but they said, "Life is like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's good." And that's true. Even when it's bad, it's good. The messed up plans are bad, but they aren't life. Heart attacks are bad, but they aren't life. Heartache, arguments, anger, sickness, resentment, loneliness, those things are bad, but they aren't life. The scriptures tell us that Jesus is life. Jesus is your life. Jesus is my life. We can choose that. And even in the stormy seas of existing and striving and surviving and trying to thrive, Jesus is always the same. Which is why we can be reminded of that story where Jesus was on the boat with his disciples and that storm came and they were all panicking, but Jesus is just taking a nap. Liz made me a shirt that said, "Jesus takes naps," and that's the verse. Because he's not stressing about it. It is what it is. The storm is the storm. It will come and it will go. But Jesus is the calm in the storm. He's the one that can just speak a word. And so even when the storms keep coming, we say, "Jesus, what's going on? Could you please speak a word? Could you calm this?" And he's like, why are you fretting? Why are you worried? We know the storms are going to come, and they're also going to pass. God is your shelter. God is your strength. God is your hope, your help. He is your caregiver. He is your listener. He is your supporter, and he is your friend. But those who hope in the Lord, as it says in Isaiah 40, will renew their strength. They'll soar on wings like eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. That's where hope lies. That's where trust lies. Not in the circumstances. The circumstances can distract us so much and discourage us and frustrate us. And those emotions and the things that come with that, they're real, and we can acknowledge it and see our weakness in it, and that is all fine. We can be honest with ourselves, but also remember the truth of who God says he is and his promises and where he is in the midst of these things. And you say, God, help me to see you in the midst of this. We're quick to say, God, change it. But instead say, God, carry me through it. Carry me through it. Oftentimes we just want the God rescue copter to pick it up right out of the situation, right out of the darkness, out of the woods, and set us down in the clearing. But there's much to be learned through the journey. In Psalm 62, verse 5 and 6, it says, "Yes, my soul, find rest in God." I love how it said that, because I think I used to always read it as saying, "My soul finds rest in God." But it's almost as if the psalmist is speaking to himself. Yes, my soul, find rest in God. A reminder to themselves to find rest in God. My hope comes from him. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will not be shaken. I looked at this verse in Hebrew, and in Hebrew, alone, this is what it says, "Alone for God I wait silently with my soul, for from him my cord." That's kind of the most rudimentary translation that the psalmist is saying. From him my cord. And so I looked up, that's interesting, that we call God my cord. And basically what that means is God is my tether. I'm tethered to God. And so my expectation, my attachment is to God. And I think that is a beautiful picture, to think of God as the cord. He's the one in whom I'm attached to. He's attached to me. And alone in God, I wait silently and trust. So from where are your expectations coming? I guess would be my question. Where are your expectations coming when it comes to things that you're looking toward and forward to? Maybe it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, a spouse, kids, grandkids, the expectation of those things, a larger number in the bank account, and your hope, your sights are set on that. That becomes your cord, your tether. Maybe you'll get a better return on investment, and that becomes something exciting to look forward to, that island vacation, those stats at work, or the people around you to give you the credit that you feel you deserve. All those things are temporary and fleeting. Now, I worked on the van thing. It didn't cost very much, but it's running smooth. It's quiet. You can start it and no one stares. Said there was a couple holes in the exhaust. I'm like, yeah, I didn't tell them anything about the experience. I just said, I got some exhaust issue. Can you look at it? They fixed it up nice, and it's great. But I go back to thinking of the situation of what's good for you, that God is working out plans, things that are good for you. So I think about the way that our vacation ended, particularly with me coming to blows with this neighbor. And what was good for me in that situation was, as I was sitting on the dock after this altercation, a few of Jen, probably the only person in Jen's family that's confrontational. Everyone else likes to let things just go. So about 3 or 4 people just vanished in the course of my exchange with the neighbor. I don't know where they went. They went on walks, they went to a room, I don't know. And then we sat on the dock, and a bunch of people are reading books, and I'm sitting there pondering and praying, and it becomes very clear to me the recognition of the anger that I was feeling, being out of line, and needing to apologize to the neighbor. I had to be candid and honest with my wife and my kids and my extended family. So I got up, I walked towards the neighbor's yard, and his wife said, like they were sitting there, she said, "Just keep your distance." And I said, I just wanted to apologize. I was way out of line in the words that I spoke, and that was just uncalled for. I was rude and abrasive, and I want to say sorry. And so the neighbor said, "I appreciate that." And that was it. I still think all the things that I thought. But how I said them and how I handled that was just, it was total flesh. It was self. It was sin. And I'm glad that God takes care of that. And he brought conviction and restoration in the way that I could work it out with his strength, and then had to, I guess, eat humble pie, whatever you want to call it. Before we served dinner, we prayed for supper, and I just wanted to apologize to all of Jen's families. I'm sure that was uncomfortable, and I want to protect you guys, and I didn't handle that well, and I'm sorry. And then I got to try to let it go. And that's where Jen says, that's where you are the hardest. Because everyone else has let it go. They're all fine with it, and you keep hanging on to it. And so that's the good plan that came out of a bad situation and me handling it poorly, is God's continual reminder that I'm here, I'm working on stuff with you and with everybody, and I'm not leaving you high and dry. No matter how dire the situation seems or how stressful it is, I'm here. And so I want to encourage you to not focus on the things that lie ahead to bring you whatever it is you're anticipating or hoping for. God is your hope. He's going to provide it, and he will care for you in the midst of any situation. But we need to remind each other of that. And that's why we need people around us to speak those truths, to share those scriptures. That's why it's important for us to check in on people we haven't seen for a while, to make a call, to drop off a card, or just make a point of letting them know that God is real, that they are loved, that they are cared for, and in the midst of whatever's going on, we've got each other's backs, and most importantly, God has our backs. And we have to be mindful of those things. So let me pray for you as we leave this morning to be consistently speaking that hope and remembering that maybe we've misplaced our hope or our trust in something else. One wrong turn can send us down a crazy path, and we can get stuck. But it's very assuring to know that God is not going to leave you there. And maybe you want to get out and move on quicker. But God knows the plans he has for your life. Plans to prosper you, to give you a hope, to give you a future. Let's pray. Lord, I just want to thank you for the reminders that you've given me about my misplaced hope. And I pray that you would bring encouragement to each one of us, encouragement of your promises and your presence with us with whatever we're going through. And that in these seasons of life, highs and lows, we just need to keep our focus on you. And you will keep us steady as we go. The storms come, the terrain gets rocky, relationships get challenging, and it's very easy to lose focus, to lose perspective. And so thank you for your forgiveness in the midst of those missteps and mistakes, words and thoughts that we utter and think, and actions we take that we know are not your ways. And so we confess those. Those things maybe are coming to our mind now. And so we can just say, Lord, I recognize that I've said or done this that is not from you. Thank you for your forgiveness. Restore us, Lord. Bring us back onto the path that you have for us, and continue to help us. Show us the people that we need to encourage and speak your promises and truth to. Reveal to us in our minds just the ways that we can be a help and a love to the people around us, a support and encouragement, and that we can keep going. Keep moving forward in the midst of whatever storms or obstacles we face. Thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for community. Thank you for the ways you provide. Continue to teach us this week and through this summer how we can find our hope only in you, not in temporary things, not in the things we can see, the things we anticipate, but the eternal, unseen, spiritual things of you, Father, of Jesus the Son, and of your Holy Spirit. Guide us this week, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Go in the hope of the Lord today.